Well, Paul, I have a question right now. How long have you been with leading real estate companies of the world?
I arrived during the Sotheby's luxury portfolio transaction because I had been with a large Sotheby broker. However, I was known a little bit as the squeaky wheel with Sotheby's. We happened to be their largest affiliate in Chicago outside of New York. And we tended to buck the system occasionally. If they wanted to charge for property brochures quite exorbitantly, and we said, you know, we can print them ourselves much cheaper. And unfortunately, I shared that view with most of the other affiliates, and they're like, wow, that's a good idea. So I was known a little bit as being the person who would buck the system. So when this all went down with Sotheby's and Christie's, a number of the affiliates said, well, you know, that Paul Boomsma is kind of a hellraiser. Why don't you talk to him and see if he wants to be involved?
Well, so I'm just
where I came in.
I'm just going to give a shout out to Paul because I was on the board of directors back then when Paul came on, and I got to know Paul real well at that moment. I backed his luxury and his initiative when he brought that forward, and we've never looked back. It's always been progressing forward. So I just want to acknowledge Paul for the leadership and bringing luxury forward, and now leading real estate companies of the world. So thank you, Paul, for being here.
Well, thank you. You've been a great supporter and continue to be.
Well, Paul, I'm back.
Oh, great.
Sorry about that. Hi, how are you? Sorry about that, everyone. So I'm assuming we just kind of got an introduction to you.
We actually, you know, let me throw in one other piece. We did an intro to the company. I'll just share a really quick part of how I got there, which is I worked as a marketing director. I started out in commercial real estate, marketing really high-end office buildings. And for those of you that are old enough to remember Dynasty, it felt like I left college and landed on the set of Dynasty, where everybody was well-dressed, drinking champagne, and moving into uber luxury offices and driving great cars. So I kind of felt like leaving college and landing there was a great thing. Commercial real estate changed in the late 80s, and I moved to residential. I had an opportunity to do that. So then I worked for a broker, and I was a marketing director, and really focused on the luxury space, going out on listing presentations, helping with price reductions, and all those things. So unfortunately, I can't say I've ever walked in your shoes, but I've walked alongside you, I've walked behind you, and I've tried to help along the way. So I have a huge appreciation for what you have to put up with. And I say that, not that it's a horrible job, but I understand. And one of the things that we do at LeadingRE, just to give you a little sense of the culture, when we have new people come in, and I get to, the people in Chicago, I get to sit down with them the first day or within the first couple of days, and they come in my office and I say, so look around you and what do you see? And tell me if there's anything that you see that would be common. And they're like, okay. And I said, you know, my clothes, the office, the carpeting, the furniture, everything. I said, what does it all have in common? And I say, it was all paid for by a real estate agent. Those are the people that we work for. And I said, every single thing we do, I said, has to be with them in mind. And I mean that sincerely. I'm very grateful to the industry. I haven't done what you do. I actually, when I retire, I really want to, because I love going to open houses. I love houses. But I never had the stomach to not have a paycheck. And it was maybe ingrained in my head from my parents. You don't ever not have a paycheck. So I did not go that route. But I love what you do. I have a great respect for it. And I think because of it, we try to put ourselves in your shoes. We know you have bad days. And if you're calling us with a problem, you know what? That means you need a solution. Because if you could solve it yourself, you would. But when you call us, that means things aren't good. And we have to figure it out. So I kind of instill that in everyone's mind, which is when an agent's calling you with a problem and they're upset about something, it's pretty serious because they wouldn't just call you otherwise. So we have to find solutions. That's our job. And that's what we try to do. So anyway, that was a little bit more than you wanted, but kind of gives you a state of what we're here for and what we try to do.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I want you guys to wave me off if I freeze up again. Okay, Nick? No, well, then if I freeze, I won't see you. But Paul, COVID has obviously changed the way we all do business. What are some things that LeadingRE has done during this time to provide additional support for the members?
Thank you. And you know that it's interesting, and I have to go back to Lennox for a minute because Lennox was on our board of directors. Our board of directors is made up of our members, and what I like about that is when things are challenging, they make decisions quickly, and they make decisions that are based on what the needs of the members are, because it's also going to benefit them. So we immediately pivoted and said, you know, we need to kind of change our business plan a little bit. We need to immediately go into a little bit of a crisis mode, which is we need to figure out how do we get more education? How do we get more motivation? How do we pool the resources of all of our great educators through our institute? And how can we get them to deliver good content to keep us all motivated? And I encourage our staff in our office to watch it too. Marcy Rossell, some of you know, has been doing a weekly update on what's going on with the economy. I love, because today she was talking about inflation. And by the way, for those of you, if you didn't watch it, it'll be posted on you can watch the recording. But she actually took to task Lawrence Yun a little bit, who I like, and he's the economist for NAR, but he has been preaching that there's going to be inflation. And she does not feel that way. And I thought the way she explained it was masterful. So some of those things, I think it's really good. And again, they come at it from different perspectives. She's a little more globally minded, I think, sometimes. And again, Lawrence is very good, so I don't disagree with him often. But it was interesting to get that perspective. We made our institute free for almost all the classes that are in it for the entire network. So some of you already have access to a lot of those things, but we wanted all of our members to be able to see that type of resource. And now I think you, and Lennox, I think you're doing some of these things, the Agent Accelerator program is some other learnings that we are making available. So we're really trying to look at what do we need to do to make sure that all of our brokers are armed with the best of education and learning. And I think you guys are great examples. You already do so many of those things yourself. But we tried to make sure that, you know, if it's not just any one company can do these things, they all have to do it. We have to keep all of our members whole. We have to keep all of our members functioning. The most recent thing that we're doing, we actually completed a round of meetings. We actually did 22 meetings in the last 2 weeks with members from around the world. And what we wanted to do is really get the perspective of what's going on and how do we go back to business. Now, we could easily get political, and I won't let people get political because this isn't a political situation. This is a crisis and we have to deal with it. So the safest thing you can always do in politics is try to stay in the middle. And what I said to people was, nobody ever posts in their ads how they feel about abortion, but I think everybody has the right to have a very strong feeling about that. However, when it comes to marketing, right now we have such a divided country. And not only that, what I was surprised at, and this may surprise some of you, in talking to other countries, many of them are just as polarized as we are. We, however, have the loudest media. I mean, you don't hear about what's going on in Johannesburg, and you don't hear what's going on in Manila. You don't hear what's going on in other places around the world. But most countries are very divided on a lot of this situation in terms of when do you go back, how do you stay safe? And so I said, you know, from a marketing perspective, we really need to have only one attitude, which is we do want to go back to business and we're going to do it safely, because I think that is what we need to do. We now know how to avoid getting coronavirus. What we don't have is the proper habits to keep ourselves from doing it. I wear a mask. I just came from a doctor's appointment. I checked out well. The doctor didn't have anything I had to do today, in case you wondered. That was good. Just keep eating healthy. But I wore my mask the whole time. I didn't feel bad about it. But I wear the mask because otherwise, if you touch your face, that could be a problem. So we want to go back to normal, but the normal needs to be a new normal with some new precautions. And, you know, do we like wearing a mask? No. And again, I'm not saying you all need to. I'm going back into Chicago, which is a rather red spot right now, a hot spot. So I'm probably going to be wearing my mask there for a little while, but partially just because, you know, I don't, if I'm in a taxi or, you know, we're just so much closer to everything. If you're in an automobile and you're in your own car, I don't know that wearing a mask, I don't know that I feel that passionately about it, but it keeps me from touching my face, because if I'm out and about, I don't know what I've touched. So I think that we can get back to work, but we have to get back to work very safely. So we're also developing, and it'll be coming out next week, a number of pieces of messaging that goes in concert with what NAR is doing and what they're seeing in terms of what consumers' concerns are. Because regardless of whether we think it's safe or not safe, regardless of whether we think we need to do these things, like anything else, we have to look at what consumers want. If consumers feel that it would be inappropriate for people to be touching things in the home that you're showing to them, we have to respect that. And I'm not saying everyone feels that way, but we do have now the statistics. And Lennox, I think you may have seen the statistics from NAR. They were just coming out yesterday. And they did a survey to say, how do consumers feel about this? And so my take is like any other marketing situation. We do the research. We find out what it is that consumers feel the most comfortable with, and we try to respond to that so that we are opening our doors to the largest number of consumers. I think that this situation right now begs the challenge of, you know, if the world is polarized, which is what we've seen, I'm guessing we have a few households that are as well. And so I can envision a dinner table conversation going a little bit like this, which is, well, honey, we said we were going to sell the home. And someone else says, well, I don't want to put our children's lives at risk. And I have a feeling that if that's the conversation going on at the dinner table, safety tends to win. So if we can assure people that we can do these things safely and that we're taking the utmost precautions, I don't think that we have to say that this is going to completely destroy us. We just need to be able to take the precautions and move forward. And that's what LeadingRE is doing. We actually took delivery of 100,000 face masks. We're actually going to be selling them. Fortunately, I don't know if we must have got them at a better price or a better deal, because we'll have them less expensive than NAR. And we also have some sanitizer and all those things that we'll be putting on our store next week. And we also got some better pricing on that. So fortunately, our members have some good connections and all that. So sorry, long answer.
That's just powerful. Just a reminder that, you know, for consumers to feel comfortable, obviously, is the first step in getting back to business, obviously at full steam. So along those lines, do you anticipate a real estate boom, lifting of the shortage? I mean, with your experience over 70 countries, I'm sure you've got some opinions here.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Some countries are actually not experiencing much of a slowdown. And there are parts of the country that are not experiencing a slowdown. There are parts of the country that are actually doing really well. The Jersey Shore, we have a wonderful company there, Diane Turton. We have a couple of companies, but Diana said, I can't keep a house on the market for more than a week. And the houses that I couldn't sell for a year are all gone. So there's definitely pent up. The Hamptons is another area. I think it's transcending to other parts of the country as well. Anytime you have an urban environment, there's an opportunity for people to want to go somewhere with a little more space. So the thing I would throw out to all of you is, and you've probably heard this, it's a great time to follow up with your customers. It's a great time to find out what they're thinking, because if they're thinking, you know what, instead of going to Europe this summer, instead of sending the kids to camp this summer, instead of whatever they were going to do, it's now time for us to buy a getaway place that we could drive to. So that's an opportunity for you to refer them to someone else, you know, depending on where they're going. They might be driving down to Tahoe, or who knows where they're driving up in, you know, but we have members. So this could become a transaction to you, but also it shows that you care. So I think that is something that's a great opportunity. That's just on the boom or bust. I'd say, I think we're gonna have to wait and see how this goes. But right now, Marcy Russell this morning said that mortgage originations last month were down, I believe, 1 or 2%. Now there could be some refis in there, but there aren't that many refis right now. So I thought that was really good news. The other piece I would say that I see a big shift in, and this is probably from my luxury holdover, we have had And I've felt horrible about it, having conversations with some of our brokers over the last year, because they have inventory that is beyond its lifeblood. It's not nobody wants it anymore. It's not attractive. And what we're seeing is those homes, many of them we might refer to, I'm from Chicago, the headquarters of McDonald's. We call them McMansions. I don't know if that's a national thing, but they're homes that were built maybe 20 or 30 years ago, and they're a little too big for today's buyer. And they typically have a bonus room, which is no longer a bonus. Well, today that is changing. Some of these homes that we were looking at saying, well, I don't need that much square footage. People are rethinking that. We're seeing the bedroom communities of outside of New York City and New Jersey. We're seeing a resurgence of people saying, yes, we are interested in a little more square footage, just in case. We had the search for swimming pools and tennis courts was up, and one was 300%, one was 500%. How many people have come to you recently saying, oh, we want a home with a swimming pool? I mean, from my experience, those swimming pools are no longer a plus for many people, because people felt that it was a little passe of an amenity. It wasn't necessarily depending on your community. So I think swimming pools, tennis courts kind of went out of vogue. They were very popular there for a while, late 70s, early 80s into the 90s. They're now coming back. So I think we're going to see that even though we have inventory challenges in many places, some of the inventory that had been considered passe and less desirable may have a new life. So I think that's a positive.
Well, we do have one question out on Facebook Live. Erin, can you share that question?
Yeah, definitely. So hi, Paul.
Hello.
I have a question from Ryan. He said, what's the most effective way that LeadingRE affiliated brokers and firms can leverage LeadingRE to advertise? He's saying ideally at unique value for the dollar in international markets.
Social media is a huge push. We have a number of different social media posts, and it's around a number of different things. One is around that we can help you anywhere, and we have a number of different things that you can post saying, I can help you anywhere in the world. A number of those are customizable. We also have all of our most recent statistics that just came out showing that we do lead the industry. And again, a simple post just saying, I'm so pleased to be part of an organization that dominates the real estate all over the world. That begs the question, what do you mean? Who is that? What do you do? I thought you were with John L. Scott in Seattle. I didn't know it was bigger than that. Anytime you're doing something that says, I'm local, I'm global, and I'm not telling you to spend money on these things, but that the whole premise from this, and you'll see this repeatedly if I was on here for a longer period of time, most of the good ideas that we have come from agents. I worked with an agent who had been going to the gym, and she said, I wear a t-shirt and it has my real estate company, and I feel like it's a repellent. People don't want to talk to me because they think I'm going to try and sell them a house. She said, I wish we could do something that would be more provocative. And that's actually where the I'm local, I'm global tagline came from, because it was somebody who wanted to be able to wear something when they were at the gym, and people would come up to her and say, what do you mean you're local and you're global? Now, of course, I'm sure there was some, and I know her well, and she jokes, she goes, it did probably get me a few more pickup lines than I would have liked, but nonetheless, I got a lot more interaction. And when they would ask me the question, what does it mean? I could then introduce a conversation about, well, I'm in real estate, but I actually can help people anywhere in the world. Well, what does that mean? So I think just making yourself known as somebody who is truly a global professional and has those resources, because I think the most successful agents who do a lot of referral business, and again, it's a very brief amount of time that you spend on it, and then the rest of it goes into our system, and we're able to then handle those deals. And just putting it in perspective, I know that we take a piece of the money, but what we do for that is to try to make sure you get paid. So a percentage of something is a lot more than no percentage of nothing. Our statistics last year, and we work with a number of different organizations, which we like. Referral Exchange is an agent-to-agent platform, and they share this. Their closing ratio is 6%. When agents contact them and send business to another agent, or they identify an agent somewhere, it's 6%. When if one of you has business and you say, well, I want to send it, but I'll send it through the system, but I want to send it to somebody I know, and they're not LeadingRE, but can I send it? It's my sister-in-law's, whatever. It's somebody you know and you feel obligated. That's okay. When we get involved, that percentage goes to 38% from 6%. If you turn it over and just say, I want my relocation department to find the right agent, we're now closing that business at 62%. Now, it doesn't say that you can't be involved in it. We still would love to have you talk to the other agents on the other end. But if we can actually, it's a little bit, we were kind of like the precursor to Match.com when it comes to finding the right agent for the right customer, because we do want to talk to you and find out what does your client need and what would be the best fit, what are they looking for. So I think when we do those things, that's why, 62% closing, and you don't have to do any more work. But you're just turning it over to people. This is what they do for a living, and it's their responsibility and their obligation to do it. And by the way, that is also what we do. We measure that success. So when you hand somebody over, and you will also receive this, when you receive a client from LeadingRE, there's a lot of energy around making sure that that client remains happy, because not only does that become unhappy client, but we track that and it becomes an unhappy statistic. And when we have unhappy statistics, that's how we measure our members. And you guys do a fantastic job, by the way. Lennox, you had a finger up.
Yeah, I have a question. LeadingRE, we have quite a few independent brokers, and you can share that with us. We are the network of the selected quality independent real estate companies, not only in the United States, but around the world.
That is correct.
How do we fare against the other national networks of the other brands out there?
Well, part of the model is we select the members in the market, and they have to meet our criteria, and we look at their statistics every year. And Pat Poole, who's on the call with me, is one of our member solutions folks who really does these things. And again, we're not ruthless. If somebody's not doing it right, we coach them and we try to say, you know what, you're having problems. You need to do this better. You need to improve your performance on all these areas. However, we're also not completely forgiving. If after 6 months we don't see it working, we don't renew them, because every year every member is renewed. Now, we don't send out a fanfare to say, oh, by the way, these are the people who are like out of here. That would be tacky, and we wouldn't do it, and we don't. However, each year there are people who don't make the cut. At the same time, we're always looking for new talent, and we're always bringing new people in. So the difference that we have, a franchise goes out and is basically selling a brand. They're selling more than that, but they're really selling a brand. That's what RISMedia does. That's why they created, now they have the Corcoran brand. They're selling that because they ran out of room of their other brands, the Sotheby's brand, the Better Homes and Gardens. When they go into a market, they're basically selling a brand with a promise of, you know what, we're going to make you more successful. And so they don't have comparable success in each market. There are certain markets, and I'll make it real easy. Coldwell Banker, they're a wonderful competitor. You have a Coldwell Banker in your market. If you go to Manhattan, there's no Coldwell Banker. How do you have a network with no presence in Manhattan? There are other areas, Sotheby's. Sotheby's does a nice job. When you go to Beverly Hills, Sotheby's is pretty far down in the ranks. In fact, Coldwell Banker does a better job than Sotheby's. It's inconsistent performance. So none of the franchises have the consistency, because their model is, we're going to sell the brand to whoever wants it and whoever needs it. They don't sell the brand to the company that is worthy of the affiliation. Our mantra is, we make the best brokerages better. None of our brokerages, including all of you, by the way, and don't take this the wrong way, Lennox. I do not want you leaving us. However, all of our companies would be successful on their own. What we believe we do is we bring them, it's like the icing on the cake. We give them a little bit more. We give them the global to give them those connections. We give them some education and training that they might not necessarily want to reinvent the wheel on. Not only that, they benefit from the fact that we're getting our education and training from people all over the world. And I'll put in one little plug. We just earned the Training Magazine Hall of Fame Award, which we're the second real estate company that's ever gotten it. Keller Williams did get it, and everybody knows Keller Williams was bragging about their training. The quick story is when they were bragging about their training, our board of directors said, you know what, we should do that. In fact, let's do it better. So we pooled all of our resources, invested quite a bit of money, and we created a training department. And now we've actually won the same awards that IBM has. I think Wells Fargo, Verizon, Price Waterhouse. It's a very, very prestigious award. And other than Keller Williams, we're the only people that ever won it. So I think those are the things that set us apart. It's really about the quality of our agents. And when it comes to all of you, no one has more people on that Wall Street Journal top agent list than our network. So we're very proud of the quality of our firms and all of the agents that we have as well.
Thanks, Paul. So I know you have a strong background in marketing, and also was the creator of our LeadingRE marketing program, Luxury Portfolio International. And since its creation, I'm sure you have seen many changes in the luxury space. What do you see happening in the near future or even 5 years out in the luxury space?
You know, I think the biggest change that I see coming for all of us, and this is probably true in luxury. Luxury tends to be a little bit of a flagship sometimes, but I think we're gonna experience a lot of change in our product. And what I mean by that is, and Lennox, you and I have talked about this, we've seen the instant offers coming. Instant offer is a change to our model. We also have worked with concierge auctions. Concierge auctions is a change to our model. I think that consumers are going to look at things differently, and it doesn't scare me, and it shouldn't scare any of you, because we're all going to go along for the same ride. But the difference is, it used to be people would say, well, you know, when you sell my home, I don't want to do open houses, or I don't want to have newspaper advertising, or I don't want to do it this way. Whatever it was, we would accommodate that. Today, I think that people are going to say, you know what, I would like to auction my home. And again, for certain properties, we've seen this now, I think for 5 years with concierge auctions. And I can get into more detail. We've had some amazing success, occasionally not as great success for a number of reasons. But what we saw was some consumers are willing to pay a premium. You still get full credit in the MLS, and you still get a full commission. The concierge auction comes in and basically does a full auction on the property.
Right.
Where this works well, and I'll call it a purple couch house. A purple couch house is a house that the seller built, and they scoured all of Europe and Africa and everywhere to bring things to put into their home. They're quite pleased with it. However, now that they've lived there for just a few years and it was a great project, they've decided maybe they're going to sell it, but they've got all the receipts on everything they did, and they bring that to you and say, you know, this is all the money we put in our house, not to mention the amount of time that we spent doing it. And we would like to share it, but here's what we think the home is worth. The problem with that is, in some cases, it's a purple couch. What I mean is, it doesn't matter if it's a velvet purple couch with, you know, beautiful brass trimming and beautiful mahogany wood, whatever it is, there's only so big a market for a purple couch. And I say that there are a number of homes that we have sellers today who have an inflated view of what their home is worth because it's worth that to them. But it may not be worth that to the open market. Concierge auctions has been a great way for some of these buyers to get a better understanding of what will the market actually pay. So by doing something with concierge auction, and I'm not putting in a plug for them, I'm just saying if you have that house where you're like, it's your wit's end, and you're like, I don't know how I can deal with this anymore, you know, it's a great way, because a lot of these people will say, well, yeah, I'm willing to pay more because I know my house is worth this. So it's kind of like putting your money where your mouth is for these things, and you get the credit for it. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I think the instant offer for certain properties, I don't think that that's going to be something that'll work in most of your market because of the price point.
Right.
The price point and the subdivisions. My impression when I come in to see you, and it's always beautiful to look out the window flying in, but I don't see the massive amounts of enormous tract home subdivisions that we may see in places like Texas or Arizona or Florida. Those areas are just ripe for instant offers because you'll have, 2,000 homes and they're all the same house and they were all built for about 150. And again, this is not a judgment. I'm just saying statistically, if you have somebody who bought a home for 150,000, they didn't put in a $60,000 kitchen or a $40,000 swimming pool or anything else. The home is still probably right around that 150,000 mark. So it's very easy to value those. And it's very easy for a company to come in and do some instant offers on that. The other thing is, historically, that business has gone into markets that have a large amount of older people. So you'll have tract homes in Florida where people bought their home and it was their retirement home north of Orlando, and they brought all of their beautiful, colonial furniture into a Florida house, townhouse, which always looks beautiful in Florida. And now they have an oxygen tank and a walker and too many pictures of the grandchildren. And now the question is, you come in to try and sell it. Wouldn't that home sell better if it were just empty? Well, that's what an instant offer is. They realize, you know what, that house is, we're going to be able to make an instant offer on it. Once they get out, we'll paint it, put in some carpeting, call it a day. We can flip that house, if you will. So I think for certain product, that's good. I don't see that happening to the majority of the market at all. But if you have an opportunity to do one of those deals, shouldn't you be able to have a service that could do it? I think that you owe that to your customer, and we need to do it in such a way that you get cut into the deal. So you're not turning it away, but you actually could do a deal like that. So that's where I think the future of the industry is. I think it's going to be more specialized services. I think we're going to have to learn a few things, but let's face it, for those of you that go, oh, I can't learn anymore. Yes, you can. You learn the fax machine. You learn the fax machine. We don't even use those anymore. You learn voicemail. That was a trial. And now you learned email
Zoom.
and all the other
Zoom.
things. We learned Zoom. Exactly.
Well, Paul, I know you're working on things constantly, but in the next 12 months, are there any initiatives or plans for LeadingRE that you're working on?
Well, like I said, and I think this was during your frozen period. We did kind of pivot on a lot of things to work towards the whole COVID situation. But the things that are coming back onto the front burner very quickly, one of them is really giving you an agent dashboard. And what I mean by that is, when I talk about the referral business, and I feel so strongly because I hear about it. And again, you guys have a lot on your plate, and I'm not begrudging you that at all. I'm a little closer to the referral business because it is what our company does, a big part of it. So I'm very heightened about it. I do a number of referrals each year because it's in my DNA. But I'm sitting next to somebody on an airplane. I'm sitting next to somebody at the airport, and strike up a conversation. Oh, where are you from? Oh, how long have you lived there? I know a few questions to ask, and it ends up finding out, guess what? They actually have a son or daughter who's moving back. Bing, a referral. Or their parents are going to be empty nesters, so they have to sell the home. Bing, it's a referral. So I get it. I can do it. And for me, it's easy because, I can email my office and they take care of it. What I want to do is make the same thing available to you. And you all have a phone. And what we want to do is we want to empower you so that right on your phone, when you're talking to somebody, there's a very easy way for you to immediately look up, well, what members do we have in that market? What do the homes look like in that market? What's some information on that market? And then, well, let me introduce you to someone there. And we've already sat down with all of our relocation directors. They're very excited about this. We feel there's a tremendous amount of referral opportunity out there, which means dollars in all of your pockets. But the reason I feel that way is as much information as we see on the internet today, I will guarantee you that if you said, hey, I've got to get my car serviced, and you go, and I don't know about you, but I don't love getting my car serviced. I feel like it always comes back with something that's not right. But anyway, that's me. That's my bad luck. But you might go online and look at all the reviews for the dealers and the different folks and walk away with an idea. And as you're pulling out of your driveway, you see your neighbor and you, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm bringing my car in for service. If that person says, oh, you know what? I went to so-and-so's dealership. They did a phenomenal job. What am I going to do? I'm probably going to go to that dealership because now the person who is my neighbor just gave me a personal endorsement. So all that stuff that I read from strangers on the web, which by the way, I do read reviews and I think they're important. However, I think word of mouth and saying, I got a guy, I got a girl, I got a contact, I think that will always win. And I think that's what we all, you all have tremendous respect with your clients and your customers. So for you to be able to help their agent, or I'm sorry, help their child and become an agent advocate for them, or their parents or a friend, posting things on Facebook and posting things on social media, it does a great job. Yeah, Lennox.
Yes, so obviously I'm assuming that referrals are lower right now because of the travel restrictions for non-essential travel, and those should get relaxed here in about the next month and a half, where non-essential travel with good social distancing will be back in play. Is that what you're seeing, and what's your anticipation of movement across the nation?
I will tell you actually, as of, and I just pulled these numbers because we were looking at for a reporter. So I'll be completely transparent. Some of it's good news, some of it's bad news. We have seen a much lower number of people being referred into the United States right now. And I don't think that's unusual because we are kind of a leader in the COVID situation. So we're not seeing people saying, oh, I want to buy a house in the US right now. That is ground considerably less. The rest of the referral business globally is about where it was a year ago. We haven't seen a change yet. Now, you know, maybe there's a bit of a lag there, but these are recent initiations of people making introductions. So, you know, and I guess, you know, I should say the same thing. There could be a lag there, but if there's a lag there, then why did all the US business suddenly stop? Because that hadn't, so I think there is a COVID situation here that's driven that. So I would expect it to be the same way across. It's changing though. And that's why I think at the beginning I alluded to, there are people who, and this is why I think it's wonderful to have a conversation with your customers right now and check in on them. And by the way, you can always send them the Marcy Russell videos. That's a nice thing to do because it's a more real estate focused report. And I think those things give them confidence. You know, and I'm sorry, I'm a little off topic, but you know that what Steve Harney did on his webinar, and I'll shoot these out to you just so you can listen to it. One of the things they've made the point of, you know, a recession doesn't mean that real estate drops in value. In the last recession, it did, but that's because that recession was caused by real estate. It was caused by bad mortgages and homes and things like that. But historically, we have not seen home values decrease in a recession. In fact, sometimes they increase. If we go back to 1999, 2000, 2001, when we were going through the dot-com and 9/11 recessions, home values were continuing to increase. If we go back to the early 80s, we had a horrible, horrible time, and interest rates were 17 to 19%. Home values continued to increase. And we even looked at that even when inflation was taken out of it. So the only time that we've seen home values decline was always in the Gulf War, 1991, and they only went down, I think, 2.6%. So I think we want to help educate our customer that just because we're going into a recession doesn't mean that their home value is necessarily going to plummet. Historically, that's not true. So, and that's another, and I know, Lennox, you're a big advocate for the buy-side product, which shows what home values are. I think it's a great time to let people know your home value is not necessarily decreasing. But in addition to talking to them, find out what's going on with their family. So is everybody staying put? You know, are people, you know, where are they living? If they're living in a major urban, or, you know, if they're graduating from school, so are they coming home with you? Ask the questions. You know, it's such a ninja response to say, so what's going on in your life? But find those things out, because typically, and I'm just saying this from my own personal, typically when you talk to them for more than 3 or 4 minutes, somebody's moving somewhere and there's a real estate transaction to be found. But you also do it in a way where you're caring. So you want to ask them about their lives. Don't just say, could I sell someone a house? That would be a little pushy. But, you know, assess the situation and be interested. And, you know, you wouldn't be in this business if you weren't caring, interested, curious people. But I think having those conversations, you'll be surprised how much business comes out of it. And then in a few months, when we start rolling this out, to make it easy for you so that on a Saturday night, you don't need to suddenly try to remember to call someone on Monday morning, but you can actually do it right on your phone
right there.
and know that it's done.
You know, I think we have a question out there with Nick.
Hey, Paul, I have a question for you. Are you seeing an increase in lead inquiries across the LeadingRE network over the past few weeks? This broker is saying, we are seeing our agents' lead generation increasing dramatically, and clients are wanting to come out to look at property. The problem is that we have no place for people to stay, as we are dealing with hotels and vacation rentals are shut down at this time.
And Paul, I'll just jump in and say this is Todd from Palm Springs. So that kind of scenario that I know that you understand.
Yes. You know, that's definitely a concern. People, and we see that people going out, we have the same situation outside of Chicago, going up to Wisconsin, going into Michigan. People can't stay anywhere, so they can't look at things right now. However, I do feel that things will be more, I think we're going to continue to see that want and that need. And as we start to see things opening up, I think for most of the country, June 1st is when most hotels and motels are going to be reopening. So there will be that opportunity, but that's definitely a problem right now. So yes, that's the challenge, which is, you know, if it's going out to the Jersey Shore, people are doing it in a day trip. The other thing I would say is that we're seeing a lot more open houses. And again, it's all based on what your local jurisdictions can allow, but we're seeing open house called open showings. And we actually have people saying this home will be open for showings on Sunday. Please call me for an appointment. But it's, you know, it's available to you in 15-minute increments. Please let me know when you'd like to come through. We're limiting the number of people in the home, but the home is open for showings. You know, please let us know. The other thing is we're seeing a lot more Facebook. I'm actually hearing great stories from people who said, you know, showing time, not Facebook. We're seeing people who do showing time showings right off their iPhone, and they're walking, say, well, could you open the cabinet? I want to see what the cabinet looks like. And then going back to Facebook, Michael Saunders down in Florida has been doing Facebook Live open houses that they're scheduling and saying, you know, this home will be open on Facebook Live during this period of time. So join me and I will have a interaction with you for this half hour, and then I'll be back, you know, the next half hour. So I do think that we need to look differently and say, you know, I have a condo here in the Palm Springs area, and I bought it off of my phone. I mean, I had the real estate agent go in and do a showing time. I'm sorry, it's been a long week. What do you do on your phone when you're just doing a call with video?
FaceTime.
FaceTime, sorry. Too many showing times, Facebooks and FaceTimes. It's all the same word, reinvented.
Yes,
anyway,
really
I did a FaceTime showing of a house, and I said, well, you know what, go in and just walk around and I'll tell you what I want to see. Yeah. I mean, I bought a house like that, condo, 5-10 years ago.
So you weren't in a pandemic and you bought it. So how much
I wasn't
more?
Even in a pandemic. I was just in my normal crisis life, which is like, I think it looks good. I don't have time to go and look at it, but it seems like a good deal. Right. So I think we can be creative, and I think that a lot of consumers, and again, Lennox, I'll send this out to you. There are definitely in the consumer response that NAR just got, which is just fielded in the last couple of weeks. Consumers are saying, yes, I would consider purchasing a home just based on seeing it virtually or things like that. So I think and I'm hearing success stories where people are going out, they're looking in the windows, and they're actually going to contract and closing, and they've never set foot in the house. So new times call for new things.
Our consumers are far more nimble than we give them credit, I think. And especially during this time, we're all approaching things differently. We're I purchase things without seeing them on Amazon. I know it's a stretch to imagine purchasing a home. However, I mean, you're proof of that. So if you could increase member adoption in one LeadingRE tool, what would that tool be?
I would ask you to all post something on your social media page about LeadingRE. And I'll make sure, Lennox, I'll send out, we have a whole directory of different things that you can choose from. But I think you'd be surprised at the response, and just say, even if you just say, I'm so thrilled to be part of, the world's largest network of real estate companies, so that I can help, that I can contact people all over the world. See what people come back to you with, because people will be like, huh, I didn't know you were part of that. It's a conversation, or anything that says I'm local, I'm global. For those of you that are, this is harder because I'm not trying to push my t-shirts. And in fact, it's not even easy to fulfill them right now because our office is still closed or remote. But I think just starting with some small things and working it into your vernacular, working it into your conversation, you'll be surprised that there are opportunities out there. And the beauty is, once you turn it over, yes, we are keeping, it's a 30% referral. We're keeping a piece of it. Your relocation department's keeping a piece of it. But the deal of it is, at the end of the day, you're getting a percentage of something that you didn't have to do a lot of work for, and your customer will be thrilled. Compared to, if you do it on your own, the statistics are against you. I mean, even with Referral Exchange, and they're pretty good at it because they built a business on it, their closing success is 6%. So it really does help to have people who are taking it over for you and doing it, because it's not, you shouldn't have to spend time on it. You feed the system. Every time you meet somebody, throw it into the system. But like I said, our stats, 62% of the time, you're going to get a check out of it.
Aaron, Lennox, Nick, is there any other questions out there in the Zoom?
I have a question. So our network, we're doing over 1 million transactions, the members in our network, which is phenomenal. We have, LeadingRE has a convention every year, and you have different disciplines in that. I'm not sure everybody knows, because the great thing about LeadingRE, it is a broker-to-broker referral network. That was the foundation that we came from, but it's become much bigger than that. The services, supporting the conversation of excellence by having the convention, having the top-notch national trainers involved, the economists, the networking for brokers. But tell us just a little bit about the different disciplines in the convention
Sure.
that attract people.
You will understand how I think, which is, I've worked for agents for a long time, and I've learned that if you give agents what they want, it would be a good thing. That makes their lives better. It makes my life better. So we try to really do that, and our conference is a reflection of that. So we have the front end of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we have our agent conference, which is everything about everything an agent could care about. At the same time, we do a luxury conference, and the real difference is luxury conference focuses a lot on what's going on with the affluent consumer. So if you're really doing a lot of luxury business, people will say, yeah, this is really helpful because I have a better understanding of what's going on in their head. If you're not doing a lot of luxury business, and occasionally people will attend kind of the wrong one by their own choice. It's your own choice what you attend. People say, well, I don't have that much luxury business, and all I heard about was what's going on in their heads. Well, that's what we try to say that when we get into it. It's going to help you understand your customers. The agent conference is really about, how do I supercharge my business? How do I, increase my units? How do I increase my volume? How do I increase my life and the pleasure in my life? How do I get a better balance? We also do sales managers, because again, our key is the sales managers that you interact with, their job is to take care of you every day of the week. And we want to make sure that they have all the tools and knowledge so that when they're running an office, they are the best support mechanism that they can possibly be. We also do a marketing and technology conference, which is on the back half of the week, just focusing on what are the new technology tools, what are the new marketing tools, so that all of our companies stay cutting edge and have the very best tools for all of you. And how do we do that and make sure that we make it also cost affordable? We also have our broker conference during that time, and that's really focusing on best idea practices and what do we do with that? How do we continue to stay leaders in the market? I'll just say sometimes the word compass came up, like I won't dwell on a competitor, but I'll just say they have certainly brought some challenges into the industry. And I have to say, they brought challenges to me. So when I see that they're currently fighting for their valuation of $6 billion, which last July was $41 billion, dropped to $22 billion, and now they're down to $6 billion. If you don't know what I'm talking about, when you see somebody that's overvaluing what their value is, it makes me crazy. But we talk about all these things. Say how do we continue to, how do we continue to stay relevant to our customers? How do we make sure that our customers understand what we offer compared to the competition? So those are all the different things that happen at the conference. But what we try to do is we try to say, what's going to be the most interesting for an agent? What's going to be the most interesting to an agent who really has a lot of luxury customers? What about the sales managers, things like that? So if we deliver what it is they're looking for, then the conference can be successful, rather than trying to have one conference and trying to do a mass market approach. We like to be targeted, just like you like to be targeted with your customers.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Nick, I think we have room for one more question, unless Lennox, did you have more?
Nope, all set.
Hey, Paul. So one
Yes.
last question. How would you compare the U.S. real estate market with the rest of the world? I know that's kind of a loaded question, but maybe give a Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, the biggest it's been very interesting for us, and we have firsthand knowledge because of our involvement in so many other countries. Chris Dietz, who is our EVP of operations globally, would also concur with this. For many years, we would say that Europe was definitely behind us. And a lot of it is because we have MLSs, we have a lot more organization of our industry, we have better competition, we have exclusives. There are many parts of the world where we don't have exclusive listings. So you'll have 5 or 6 people all trying to sell the same home, and none of them really doing a lot of work to market it because they don't have an exclusive. So those are the things that I think the US has really developed itself very nicely. Over the last 5 years, and it's really just the last 5 years, Europe has become incredibly more savvy. Technology has hit them. They're much more focused on data and being able to share information and things like that. There are still parts, in the UK, there's still a very provincial market. Some of you know that a company called Purple Bricks tried its hand in the US, and unfortunately they failed. I say unfortunately, for those of you that know, I have a little sarcasm. They failed miserably, and it wasn't that sad for me. But they came in from Great Britain thinking that they could show all the US people how it's supposed to be done. Well, it turns out it's really not. The way they do it doesn't work that well here. But in the UK, they don't have exclusives, and they have like each little community has its own real estate agent, and they all operate independently. It's kind of unusual. Now we're seeing that Europe is coming into fruition and into its own. We're seeing Southeast Asia is getting on the bandwagon. They're starting to adopt things. Australia is kind of in the midst, in between. They've done some really good things, but their market is quite different. As some of you know, they do a lot of auction. All the properties are auctioned. That's just how they do it. So that creates some differentiation. But the US we're still the leader in how real estate is practiced. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but we are the leader. And part of that is also we have more transactions than any other country. And we have to be very thankful for that because we are so affluent. And people here, they will purchase a new home. Somebody said it's almost like, well, we have a child, so we're going to get a new car. I'm going to buy some new clothes. And we thought we'd get a new house. I mean, we have a very blessed, affluent society. In Europe, there are many people who they'll purchase a home and it's not even in the thought process that they would ever buy another home in their life. You know, and half of Europe rents. So, you know, we have a lot more transactions, and housing is a real, it's a real luxury here that many of us benefit from.
Thank you, Paul, so much. And I don't think any of us are going to forget purple couch, purple bricks. Is there any similarity there?
Just don't tell your customers, say, oh, I heard about this. You have a purple couch house.
Yeah, I like to call this a purple couch house.
Keep it up in your head, because there are out there, and you just need to walk into it going, okay, there's going to be a challenge here. Yes. Because they think it's great, but will the rest of the world? Thank you.
Well, Paul, on behalf of our entire John L. Scott family, Lennox Scott, our Facebook Friday team, we thank you for your time and sharing your valuable insights and seasoned advice. A special thank you also to Pat Poole. Hi, Pat. Thank you for being our incredible representative for John L. Scott and caring for all of us. And just, I mean, we know you're right there, a phone call away, and we see you. So we really just appreciate Paul. We appreciate her. She's awesome for us. So thank you, Pat. And a special thank you to each of you who joined us today on Facebook Friday, both on Facebook Live as well as the Zoom call, our managers, our independent owners and operators, and even our franchise prospects that have joined the call today to learn more about John L. Scott and who we know, who we keep connected with and close to us, like Paul Boomsma. So please join us next week, same time, same place. We're interviewing a gentleman by the name of Dan Caro, and he is a world-class musician, an inspirational speaker, and Dan will share a fascinating story about when he was burned from head to toe at age 2 years old in a gasoline fire in his garage, and how that transformed his life forever and has given him the platform he has today to spread love and joy and contribution. He's an amazing guy. He's got an amazing story of resiliency, and I thought it would just be a great time for all of us to learn a little bit more about Dan and his life and what he's doing out there. So for questions about John L. Scott or John L. Scott franchise opportunities, don't hesitate to reach out to me at jamescolburn@johnlscott.com. And I wish each of you a wonderful weekend and a profitable and prosperous and purpose-driven real estate business as each of us play our role in contributing to the lives of others. So Paul, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it, and all the questions out there, and we just hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll do this again, I'm sure.
Stay safe and successful, everybody.
Thank you.